Today we are starting a new project. We are doing something y'all have been asking me to do for a couple years now. We're finally getting to it. We are building a four-wheel drive buggy. Alright, now we have to thank Midnight Run 2004, that is his Instagram name, for sending us most of these parts that we're going to be using for this project. Now, what these are from is these are actually from a Polaris Magnum 325 four-wheel drive ATV. Most of these parts are, the rear hubs are from something else, so they're a little bit bigger, but most of these drive components are from a 325. Now, what we are building is, I want to build a micro rock bouncer, a miniature version of one of those 1,000 horsepower machines that can climb up sheer cliffs. I don't expect this machine to be able to do what those machines can do. I want this thing to look like a miniature version of a rock bouncer, and I want to be able to do rock crawling with this machine. Okay, so something I just noticed with these tires, because these are brand new tires from eBay and Amazon, and I normally bring them to a local tire place to have them put the tires on the rims, and I actually just picked these up this morning, and I just noticed two of the tires, the tread pattern is backwards. Really? Look at the rims. The rims are correct. And then look at the tread pattern on the left two. The right two, those are right. That's right. So they put the tread pattern going in the same direction on all four tires. Really? Really? And I don't feel like going back there right now and having them fix it because they're super busy and they weren't very nice. So I guess I'm just gonna leave it, and then I'll deal with it later, I guess. I don't know. It's gonna drive me nuts. I know it's gonna drive y'all nuts. Now, as far as the physical size of this thing, I do want to keep it on the smaller side because I want to make this thing a mini rock bouncer, but I don't want to make it so small that it doesn't really perform that well and it tips over easily. So I'm not sure exactly how big this thing's going to be. Now, as far as how I'm doing the front and rear axles, because I know normal rock bouncers, they have the one-piece axles with the pumpkin in the middle, and then that connects, the tires. And because I'm using these and CV axles, I'm going to be doing something very similar to that. Instead of it just being one piece, I'm going to be having like a tubular frame connecting everything together, and then from that we will have four-link suspension going to the chassis. So, does that make sense? Alright, I think to start off this project we first need to work on trying to get these hubs to work for these tires. Now normally with a project like this I try to build everything I can from scratch. That's what I always try to focus on with my channel and my videos. And but because this is four-wheel drive and because I already have hubs and spindles and front hubs that work with four-wheel drive and work with these CV axles, I think it's just going to be a lot easier and a lot faster just to use the hubs that I have and just modify them a little bit to work for these tires. Now, unfortunately, the bolt pattern is not the same with the hubs and the tires, so we do have to make some type of adapters to get these tires to bolt onto these hubs. So this has almost taken me an entire day just to get to this point right here. We have 2 of them, 2 of the 4 that we need, and these are not even done. We still need to locate and drill the 8 holes in these for both of them, and then I need to do these are for the front, and I still need to do the ones for the rear. So these are taking me a little while to make. Alright, 2 down, 2 more to go. I'm not going to show making the other 2 just because I think that would be just kind of repetitive. Alright, and just like that, they are already done. Super simple, right? Now, I did have to modify and machine these hubs. I had to machine these parts flat just because of how these are. Now, unfortunately, the studs on these hubs, they're not long enough, so I will have to replace them. Moment of truth, see if these things work. Look at what just showed up in the mail. This is the engine for this project. This shipped all the way from California. And this thing looks like it's pretty beat up, I'll admit. So this thing looks really beat up. So let's hope there's nothing damaged in here. Kind of surprised it showed up in a bin. Didn't even know you could ship bins. Oh wow, I really hope this thing's not damaged. I'll be honest, he could have done a little better of a packing job. But some of the wiring. Oh, I see a little damage. Dang it. Oh, Lord. Oh, man. Oh. Oh, it does come with airbox. That's cool. That's good. And this wiring harness. Is that all the packaging it had? shipped all the way from California to North Carolina in a bin. Let's hope this thing isn't damaged. Alright, so this is the engine for this project. This is a 2005 Suzuki SV650 engine. 650 V-twin fuel-injected engine. And the reason I chose this thing is because not only are they cheap, they're kind of easy to find, and we've never really built anything yet with a V-twin engine, so I thought this project would be a pretty good project to build it with a V-twin engine. Plus, this engine is narrow. It's a little bit long, but it is narrow is what we need. So now, this thing did come with the throttle bodies, the wiring harness, the air intake, as well as a radiator, so hopefully we won't have any issues with getting this thing to fire up. He did say that this engine does run. Alright, so now that we have the engine, let's properly lay all this stuff out and figure out how big this thing's gonna be. So I'm trying to figure out how small do I want to make this thing, because obviously I'm calling it the mini rock bouncer. I want this thing to be on the smaller side, but yet I don't want to make this thing so small that it sucks and it tips over easily, because obviously it's going to have to be at a certain height. Everything has to be so high off the ground, but I don't want to make the wheelbase so small that it tips over easily, so I want to make it to where it has a decent sized wheelbase. But I also want to keep it kind of small, because I'm calling it the mini rock bouncer. So I think that this is a good size for it. It's still on the small side, but it's not so small that it's not going to really go off-roading that well. But it's not really... Honestly, this isn't as... I could make this if I wanted to. I could make this thing super tiny, and it would look more authentic with this size tire, because I know what you guys are going to say. You guys are going to say I should have used bigger tires, but the gearbox I'm using, the differentials that I'm using, they're off of a Polaris Sportsman? What are they off of? Or, Polaris Magnum 325, and a Polaris Magnum is a little small ATV, and it has maybe around like 30 horsepower. And this engine produces 75. So I didn't want to use some big tires and end up grenading this gearbox or these differentials or snapping a CV. So therefore I kind of kept on the smaller side of the tires. I did want to use bigger tires. It's just using these smaller gearbox and differentials, I didn't want to break stuff. Does that make sense? So I just put this second bar in, but then I failed to notice or realize that, when I'm turning the tire, this hits the tube right here, and it doesn't really allow the tire to turn that much. So we don't really have that much turning with this tire anyway because of the CV. It can only go so far, but as you can see, the CV can go more, and it's hitting this tube right here. So that's not really gonna work. So yeah, I guess just cut this off and redo it. So this is it's driving me nuts with how small these ball joints are. Now obviously they're big enough and strong enough for the ATV that this front spindle came off of, but the size of frame that we're building and the size tires that we're using, I just don't feel like these ball joints are going to be strong enough. The top one is 3/8, the bottom one is a little bit bigger than 3/8 because it's tapered. And I'm thinking, like, it probably could be strong enough. We may not have an issue with these things snapping, but I just don't want to build something like this with an obvious potential weak point right here. So, plus the way that this is attached to this, I don't like it, and I want to redo it, and I'm not sure how I'd redo it. So I went on Amazon and bought some 5/8 Heim joints, and I figured out a way to attach Heim joints to the top and bottom of this. And I think that's going to be a lot better. It's going to be bigger, stronger, beefier, and it's going to be easier to bolt this on and off the rear axle tube chassis thing that we're building. So, which that means the rear axle thing that we've just been building, I don't like it, and I'm going to be taking it apart and starting again from scratch. So once the Heim joints get here from Amazon, which means in the meantime, I guess we can start working on the rear axle. But I am going to save that for the next video of this project because I feel like this video is kind of getting a little long. And next video of this project, we will build the rear axle. That one's going to be a whole lot easier, I think. And then hopefully by the time that's done, then the Heim joints get here, and then we can finish building the front axle. And then after that, I guess we could start to work on the main chassis and all that kind of stuff. So let me know what y'all think of this new project. I've been planning on building this project for months and months now. I'm excited about this thing because I know you guys have been asking for me to build a four-wheel drive project for a very long time now, and I'm finally getting to it. Finally doing it. So anyway, guess that's it for this video. Thank y'all for watching. I'll see ya in the next video.